And
really tough winter.
so we did get distracted with all
Was
that.
it tougher than COVID?
Yes.
Yes.
This last winter was?
Yep.
Harder than COVID?
100 times more.
Financially for the business, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. And that's because we voluntarily did a big transition. Okay? We decided, hey, COVID has changed the landscape for us here and changed what is going on, and maybe what we want to make happen or what our goals are, maybe that's not what we should be doing right now, because some things have dramatically changed. So when we had some natural attrition, when we had people say, hey, through some natural attrition and some people that we let go, we decided, hey, let's change. Let's change our focus. Maybe what we're focusing on, we shouldn't be focusing on right now. Maybe that's not the smart thing to do. So we took on a big change right as we're going into winter, and actually right as we're going into fall, we did a big change. And
Consciously?
Yes, consciously. And we're like, let's go for it. Let's make this change. And we drew back on people. We drew back on production. We quit sending the truck to Billings. We had customers let down and upset about that. And that's never easy. But we were like, okay, let's take this opportunity to focus on building our sauce bottling. For years, we've been saying, we should bottle this sauce. But with the amount of time and energy that we put into our regular business, it made it really hard to go home and then take your off time and focus on how do you get this sauce bottled. It's not easy, and the type of sauce that we have is not easy.
It makes it even more difficult. It's not like we're just bottling some hot sauce with vinegar and, your typical hot sauce. There's so much more to this sauce than your typical or barbecue sauce.
We were reaching out to companies to have them just do it for us. COVID changed the landscape for them too. So all of a sudden we're reaching out to companies and we're like, hey, could you bottle this sauce for us? And they're like, we can't get ingredients. We can't keep employees. We're not taking on any new clients. We're like, oh, okay. So we have to learn how to do this ourselves. So we thought, let's just pull back. And that was when we were trying to finish up the studio. That was when we we invested in a bunch of the stuff for the sauce bottling, and we took out a rather large loan at the time to help us get through this period, thinking, okay, we're going to do this transition, we're going to get this finished, we're going to invest into this bottling, we're going to figure all of this out, but as quickly as we can get sauce bottling into production, we're going to be okay financially because we'll be doing sauce sales. Well, that's not really how it turned out, because getting the bottling done, the labeling done, took 3 times as long as what we thought was going to take.
Length and money.
In the meantime, we're paying back on that loan at a very fast rate. And so what we were paying out versus what is coming in, because sauce sales came months and months later than what we needed it to. Then the other problem was there was a certain level of attention we wanted to give that sauce in marketing. Well, because we'd also drawn back on people, and I don't know.
We didn't have the help to cover the areas that we needed covered so that we could focus on that, because we are doing it all.
So
we are
because
doing the making of the sauce, we're
makes it
prepping all
hard.
the food, we're working all those hours,
doing the
getting
deep
up,
cleaning.
the cleaning and all that, and then still trying to figure out sauce and calling people, and there was just not enough time. There's not enough time to do it.
And try to have a family life.
I have 2 kids that are super important ages right now that I feel like I kind of neglected in a way because I was so
busy
focused on the other stuff. Yeah.
What ended up happening is this, though. We kept paying that loan off, and we paid off a lot of money in a very short period of time, because that was just the terms of it, but we weren't generating income from the sauce business like we were anticipating. We were like, okay, let's do this. Let's invest into this, and this. But our burrito sales dropped off, and we didn't know how to anticipate that when we aren't sending the truck to Billings. So our overall revenue was lower. We had a loan we were paying back on, and we didn't have sales of what we were expecting. But we didn't have sales because of what we were expecting, because a couple of things. Shipping prices started to go higher. People started to pull back on what they could order and spend online, and we were not marketing because we were so bogged down in everything else. we weren't doing the content production that would have promoted it and got it out in front of enough people. Because if you get your product out in front of enough people, at an affordable rate, you're going to sell it to somebody. Okay. But we didn't have the time to get that content done because we were also pulling all the hours as we lost people and let people go. More duties fall back onto us. So we're working more at just making burritos. So that's why it was a hard winter, is because we were paying money out to repay this loan. We paid off a lot. We invested a lot last year. What I mean by that is we took some loans, but to do these things, and there were certain things that were good that turned out of that, and certain things were just hard lessons, and we're not afraid of taking a risk and being like, here, let's invest into this, and then recognizing this didn't work out and this has cost us a lot of money, but we still got to pay all this back.
And paying our employees way more than we pay ourselves. Like, our employees make way more than we do because we want to have good employees and we want to keep that.
Yeah, it's not easy hours to get up.
Yes, so we recognize that.
That's true.
At that pace.
That'd be
and we work at a really fast, intense pace, which people probably don't realize. But we're going. It's go, and sometimes it's hot, and sometimes it's cold, and that can shift in 10 minutes.
I do 10 miles a day. My thing keeps track. 10 miles a day.
Just walking back and forth.
Walking and doing all the stuff I do. I do 10 miles a day.
Wow.
And we're in a 24-foot trailer. She's usually on her half of it.
You know, and I'm walking outside and we're prepping and carrying stuff, so I'm going, but just in that vicinity of, I do.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes
and that's because we're on our feet.
So it's obviously physically exhausting as well as
it's
mentally.
it's a very physical job on top of mental.
And a lot of people don't really probably realize. I mean, last summer, we're not doing this volume now because we don't have the truck. But last summer, we were averaging 500 burritos a day.
But we had 7 people.
But when you think about that, too, that's 500 pounds of food per morning.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Because those burritos are a pound each.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's just a lot of food to process. I mean, process like cutting potatoes and, cooking 40 pounds of eggs at a time.
Yeah, you're talking like 150 pounds of potatoes, 150 pounds of eggs, 150 pounds of meat.
were you just getting exhausted? Just like, how long can you keep that up, I guess is what I was thinking.
Well, that's a good question because we just hit the 7-year mark at the old BFL this past Father's Day. How I mark that is that's the hill climbs every year is on Father's Day weekend. And that was our first event, was in 2015. And so 7 years of this. Running your own business is hard for anybody, whether your hours are, whatever your hours are. If you're gonna run your own business and I hate to say the word I a lot. When I talk about our story, I say I in the beginning because these are decisions I made. I hadn't met April yet, so I always kind of feel bad, like I'm making the attempt or making this about me or something. Okay, but it's not that way. It's just that when I went into this, when I dreamed this all up, I went all in on it and don't have a backup. I'm a firm believer in if you're going to go for it, and burn the ships. If you're going to take the island, burn the ships, because now you got to take that island. There's no way out of here. Because honestly, that's the only way that motivates me, that moves me. If I have a way to procrastinate or if I have a way to get distracted with something else, I will. So I know this, and I got to go all in. So I went all in on it. And so it takes a lot of, I recognize now, because I hadn't owned a business and I hadn't ever before, but anybody who owns a business, you've got to be married. If you want that business to be successful, now if you just want to exist, there's a lot of people that own businesses and businesses around here that just exist. They're not pouring themselves into it. They're not passionate about it. And that's fine. That's maybe what they want. They want to take it at whatever their level is.
Yeah, whatever area their life is in, they just need, know.
Yep.
So
I didn't want to just exist. I wanted to build something. And so you put a lot of time and hours and energy into it. And, over the years, I've averaged, 6 to 7 days a week typically until the last couple of months. 6 to 7 days a week working on this business. And it is exhausting. So how long can you do that? And getting up at midnight, getting up at 10:30 at night for some of these things that we have to be on time to, because there's potatoes to cut and cook and everything to all of this before rollers even come in.
It definitely takes a toll on your body, your mental clarity, and like your relationships too, with family, kids, husband, wife, it does. It takes a toll because you're tired.
It changes your hours.
You're tired.
Yeah. We operate during hours that most people, don't operate. And people who have a little recreation in the evenings, we're not a part of that. We haven't been a part of that for years. So I guess my point is like any business is hard. You got to put in a lot of hours. But the hours that we put in, I feel, are especially hard. They're just not natural. They're not natural on your body. If I could get up or go to work at 7 in the morning and work until 7 at night, I feel that the physical toll would just not be as difficult because your body is more used to.
You're in that natural is it called circadian rhythm? I always feel like I say it wrong because your body has a natural circadian rhythm. And so, we are opposite.
Yeah, we're fighting it. We're going to bed.
We're fighting it.
We're going to bed in the afternoon, and I'm typically starting work somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m. over the last several years. And that has been wearing on me. So financial stress of, hey, we're paying all this stuff back because we made investments in this stuff, but hey, revenue is not where it needs to be to make sure that everybody's getting paid. And
so we had to take on extra weekends just to make sure that we were making it all.
Normally, like on a Saturday, we're physically and mentally exhausted. We're kind of zombies at home because we just unwind.
We just can't.
But what we started to do was like to make payroll.
We had to work Saturdays.
We got to do a Saturday.
And I did those especially through the spring. Well, in the winter, but you guys were doing a lot more events on the weekends.
Yeah, we were going to Billings on Saturdays just so we could make payroll.
Yeah, I mean,
with all our other bills and taxes and all the stuff that just comes out naturally.
Well, the other thing that was happening too is gas prices were going up, and that was causing the price of everything to go up.
All our food
of our food costs were going up, and now we're like, okay, we're always too slow to raise our prices in reaction to what's going on or in anticipation of what's going to come up. We hate to raise those prices, right? We don't. And so that you end up taking a beating on that. And there's times where we've been like,
we were losing money there for a while on burritos because we didn't want to raise our prices because we feel we get the fallback from that, customers and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that are like, understand. They go to
most of them
understand. They go to the grocery store. They see what's going on with the world. But there are those few that they'll give it to you pretty good. And I hate that. It makes me feel so bad.
I went this Friday, stopped by just to get salad, just stuff for a salad for the weekend, and it was $54.
Oh my!
You know what? I know that in other countries. I've been watching a lot of things in other countries. The U.S. is much higher on all the natural fruits, vegetables, meats, whole foods than any other country. It's cheaper for us to buy all the processed stuff than the stuff that's good for you. You go to other countries, it's cheaper to buy the stuff that's good for you than the processed stuff. The U.S. is messed up on that, but
I 100% agree. And so my point of that is it's huge. I mean, I was thinking the last time, I'm like, I remember buying the same stuff for $15-$20.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
all our food, every single food product, and the stuff like gloves, like before that, we could buy a case of gloves. I think 1,000 gloves come in a case.
Yeah.
For $60. Now they're over $200.
Yeah, they've actually started to just come down in the last couple months, but they were up up over 200
just for gloves that we have to have because you have to.
And this has been over the last 2 years. Yeah, all of our expenses have been up, and in every business they are.
So, what are you hearing from your providers? Like, what are they saying? Are they still going? I mean, we kind of feel like we're out of COVID a little bit, but maybe not. Are we still seeing the residue?
What they're telling us is prepare for massive shortages.
Yep. All of our vendors
are telling us.
For how long?
They have no clue.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's going to be a year, 2 years,
Well, the
6
wheat,
months, 2 months.
the wheat problem is going to be a big problem here soon because a lot of our wheat comes from Russia, Ukraine.
Which is crazy because we have
we have
the
tons of
wheat,
wheat in America.
the sriracha. This is just stuff that's affecting us. Sriracha, that's been closed down because there wasn't the crops of the peppers or something was what. Something with the crops of the peppers. So sriracha,
and who
they
even
closed their
knows?
factory down.
Who even really knows what the real story is because there's food
eggs.
processing plants all over the place burning
Because
down.
there was a bunch of stuff that happened with the eggs or with the chickens and stuff. Our cheese has went up dramatically. Potatoes, they said we're going to start having an issue with potatoes. So this is just stuff we are,
Fryer oil has more than doubled.
Yeah. But other things, like we still go to the grocery store and go shopping, and like I am not walking out one bag of groceries, $60, $70.
Yeah.
For what,
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like, and the gas prices, electricity, shipping, everything has went up.
Yeah. All of our vendors are telling us prepare for harder times. We're being told, that
we couldn't get sausage for a few weeks there.
Yeah, so the food vendors are telling us, like I get emails forwarded to me that's coming from their corporate people. I get text messages that are forwarded. I get all that type of stuff. They give us good advance notice as much as they can of what we need to prepare for.
So what do they mean by prepare? Food storage, store it?
Yeah. They're like buy what you can when you can. And some of that we've done with some of our ingredients. We have stockpiled, but some of that we stockpiled last year and like we've gone through it, and now we're having to rebuy.
The hard winter we went through, good thing we had that stockpile.
And in the meantime, since we had that stockpile, those prices have gone way up. So now we have to go back and we have to rebuy again at way higher pricing. But we did get to float for a while. That helped us during some tough financial times that we had stockpiled on a few things that we could. But now we're at a position again where we're like, okay, we're whatever any extra we can earn or we can generate, we're trying to beef up our stockpiles because like recently for 2 weeks we couldn't order sausage from Cisco. Okay, yeah, we could have ordered some weird janky sausage that wouldn't have tasted right in our burritos, but the sausage, the breakfast sausage that we ordered that is always there and available is just not available. It's just out of stock. Never had that problem. And it was out of stock for a couple of weeks.
So our sauce ingredients out of stock. We haven't been able to get.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just going to get worse.
And they're all saying, yes. And then you watch the news, you watch other different things, and which it's hard to watch the news and believe what anybody's saying, but in a lot of sources, everybody's saying, yeah, this is 2023 is going to be much worse. We're just
getting started.
We're just getting started. So, and fuel prices, nobody's anticipating that that's going to come down. That's only going up. So, I don't know. So there's all of that. So when you were saying a minute ago, you were like, so how long can you maintain that, that schedule and that system? It is tough. So what we got to a point even just a couple of months ago where we're like, okay, we can't just sit here and do the same thing. Okay. Our goals from last year have changed. Last year we were trying to finesse our system and get it as efficient as possible. Let's see what kind of numbers we can do here. And let's really push what we can do to learn some things here. And we did. And we learned a lot. And we were ramping up to be like, hey, let's get a big investment where we can go put in a much larger facility and hire a bunch of people, and we will start to go in this direction. But with the world, the way the world has been going and what we have been seeing from other restaurant owners, even here in our area, people that we know, we're like, that's maybe...
Restaurant consultants going in and like consulting, saying
unless you can be there, to watch the entire process, your people are going to run you into the ground.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Like people just don't care. We're all seeing this. I ask people in other industries. I go to my doctor and I'm like, man, like I just see a work ethic change. I see a lot of things have changed in the last while. Like, how much do people care about their job or what they're doing or their quality of work? I've seen that change, and I've heard it in all kinds of industries. I check in with everybody.
It's not
Everybody's
just the
like
restaurant
saying,
industry.
Yeah, I'm hearing it in the medical industry or this industry or that industry. Everything's tougher for some reason. It's hard to invest into people because people are not worth what you're investing at times.
And it doesn't matter how much you pay them.
This is what we are hearing and what we're experiencing. That's all I'm saying. I'm not making some big final statement, but that's what the feedback I've been getting is that something has changed. Ever since they started to just pay people to stay home, there's been a big shift. And people are like, oh, I don't, I should get paid more to go to work at this place or I this and I that.
And there's also been a thing, too, where people have been like, well, then you need to pay your people, more and what they're worth. And we're like, yeah, okay, you do that. But
that doesn't mean they're going to stay. That doesn't mean they're going
to care. It doesn't matter is what I'm saying.
They're going to take what they can take. And then when it's not what they want anymore, they're out.
It's interesting you say that because I try to pay well for our area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to find a CSR, which is customer service representative. And I've had a couple people, they're like, well, what does it pay? And I'm like, well, 18 to 21 or 22. It's kind of an entry level. And I get everything from, wow, that's good, to some people are like, that's really not very good. It's not, it's not very. And my nephew, who just graduated high school a year ago, he's like, if I don't make $20 an hour, I'm not going to apply.
Yeah. I had somebody come to the other day and was like, well, you just need to hire some managers, pay like $20 an hour, those managers, so we can be at more places. And then you just get a couple of minimum wage people. I'm like, nobody's working for minimum wage.
No. What you're competing with right now, when you're saying you're trying to find somebody at $18, $19 an hour.
Yep.
McDonald's is starting at 17. You're competing with McDonald's.
Absolutely.
At $17 an hour.
At $17 an hour.
And on top of that, they're not applying. Not really.
No.
And the only ones that are applying are people that you reach out to, which then they kind of feel like there's an obligation there.
Yeah. They feel like, hey, oh, I can't say no.
Yeah. And they think that they have the job, where in reality, all you're trying to do is just get some people to interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's been very interesting.
So we live in a tough area, though.
We do.
We have a mine up there that everybody around here either has somebody in their immediate family who works up at that mine, which is mining precious metals, which means, and it's very hard and tough conditions, which means they pay for that job. Okay, so everybody there's a bar that's kind of mentally set, I feel, where it's like, hey, at this mine, I could go clean bathrooms up there for, whatever it is now.
I don't even know,
but it's probably mid to high 20s, an hour.
I think I just had a guy, and this has probably been 6 months, which is his goal, is to go be a custodian up there. And I think he said it was between 20 and 22 or something. Maybe 24.
But you're paying 18 to 20 to sit at a desk and answer calls and do some paperwork.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like,
not hard.
I would take that over cleaning.
Yeah, but that's just starting.
I would too.
Yeah,
but absolutely.
You put in a year up there or so, and you're bumped up a
and
bit.
You have insurance.
You're getting paid more,
things.
and all the other stuff with it. And that's what we're all competing with. Is like everybody either has somebody in their family who works there, or a friend, but
they all know somebody.
That's the atmosphere. And now that's not bad. I mean,
that's
I'm not
what's kept
complaining.
this community going in all reality.
Yes, but it sets a different bar though for all the rest of the businesses in the area, because it's hard to go work at this place during these hours for this much, when there's that out there, when there's that mental bar that's been set up there. So. And that's fine. That's just what we have to deal with here.
That's true with the railroad as well.
Yeah.
And the refinery.
And the hospital.
And the hospital.
The hospital's there. They're like one of the major employers.
And those are all good, career jobs and that pay well and have a lot of benefits. But for all the rest of the
small businesses,
that's very hard to compete with those things. So there's that. That's what's going on, because we saw the same thing. We're like, hey, we're not getting very many people who even apply, and those who do apply, we're like, yeah, I don't know that this is who we want on our team, in this close of quarters, and we don't know how that's going to really work out. I'm saying that as generously as I can, but because there's good people there. I mean, there's people that we're like, oh, how's this going to work out or not work out? I don't really know, but Then there's been some straight up weirdos, so.
And you're all very close together all the time. It's not like you get to go walk to your office like you're frustrated or something. You get to go walk to your office and sit down and be like, okay.
Yeah, you don't get a break.
You still have to work, and still
like. So having that close team and people that are fairly like-minded. And,
I had one left a note on our. I mean, this just nasty note, on our door because no one was there when they knocked on the door. Nasty note, and so
a customer left that.
Well, it was well, I thought it was a customer. Turns out that it was somebody applying for a job.
Oh, so that's nice. Leave a nasty note.
So that was last week when I was on vacation, and they went to grab lunch, and when they got back, there was this long, and it was sticky notes. There's like 7 of them, and it just kept going on. Well, last week I get this, another note from another office that says, "Hey, this person is trying to apply for a job and wants to know where they're at."
Even after leaving all those notes?
Well, so, you're talking like 4 days later, because when I asked, I got back, and all of a sudden there's this note on my computer. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, and so they kind of was explaining this weird situation. And come to find out, it was somebody who had applied for the job. And so I had taken all the sticky notes up, and I'm like, okay, well, and I tossed it into the garbage. Well, 4 days later, I'm like, man, I swear that name sounds familiar. And so I emptied my trash bin at my desk into the larger one, and I was looking for that group of sticky notes. And sure enough, same person is following up on why she hadn't gotten an interview.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
It's
Can you imagine in the 80s or 90s, somebody who's wanting a job is coming in and starting off by bashing you?
Yeah, I cannot imagine why. I don't even understand what they're thinking.
Why would you want to deal with that person at all? It's like a weird level of mental illness that we're dealing with.
Or like
now.
An entitlement thing. Like it doesn't matter. I can do whatever I want, act however I want, but I am still expected to get what I want.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of it too is, and I think we're all guilty of this when it comes to how you run the company. And the write-ups or, trying to correct behavior, I know that I'm more of a, hey, I'll talk to you one-on-one, and instead of like, hey, here's a written document, and we need to correct this. And even though I know that the latter is what you should do, I tend to
what's going to save you in the end.
Yeah, because it saves you in the end. I tend to go with the verbal first.
Yeah.
2 or 3, and well beyond what I should.
And that's even if my fault is that's even if we even stop to talk about it. It's like I'll let 90% of it go.
Yeah.
90% of the time to avoid even having to.
I'm tired and being overly sensitive.
Yeah.
It's not really a big deal.
Well, and we go through all of those in our mind, right?
Try to check all that stuff off before we even get to that point of like, hey, I need to talk to you.
Until you hit that point where you're like, I'm done. And it's not their fault. It's my fault. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, and it's things that we should correct earlier.
Exactly.
And we don't.
I agree.
And we let it build up until we just say, I'm done. We're done with this.
I feel, though, do you feel like people who are hiring on right now, they know like that everybody's hiring, everybody needs people. So
they have this sense
of like, I can come in doing basically what I want and saying what I want, and they need me.
Yeah. I'm needed. So.
I think there's a sense of that, but at the same time, there's a need for everybody has always had a need for good workers, and I don't know, what's happened to the good workers. Well, the problem is the good workers are still working.
Yeah, they've built something for themselves. They're in a good career, and they're doing what they need to do.
They're trying to hold on to, because the times aren't easy. I mean, I think that propane, as a good example, is kind of, people need it regardless of the time. So it's somewhat a secure place, if you want to call it that. But even now you call in and it's the summertime, which people are like, just fill me up. And instead they're doing it like, can I do 200 gallons? Can I do just enough? And I think...
Is that to save money right now with the time?
Yeah,
going
well,
on?
I mean, the price is so high that we're now higher than we were in the winter time is always the highest. During COVID, we're higher now than the price in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's odd because summertime it goes down, winter goes up.
Most of the time you're just trying to get through winter, and get to those summer prices.
Gas prices are going up. Wages really haven't gone up, and then there's people not working, so they're waiting until they run out. And then they steal from Peter to pay Paul is what I think. What I'm worried about is what happens this fall going into early winter.
Yeah, of all these people that need it.
And then if we end up with food shortage like you were talking about.
Like, what do you do?
What do you do? They're going to, it's going to become a little scary times.
It is. This is what our thing is too. We kind of got to a point, I kind of want to kind of go back to this part of it, is we got to a point where it's like, okay, we can't keep doing what we're doing because we're just existing. We're not building something here. We're not, this is all we have here. We also have, retirement in a few years. We have like things we have to take care of, So it's like we can't just sit here and maintain at this minimum level here. So what do? Do we hire people at an exorbitant amount of money to come in at these hours? We got to pull people from a very small hiring pool that have a skill set and a work ethic that we need. That's a very small hiring pool. So how do we pay people enough to start pulling them from Billings or Laurel to come out here and work for us to do this, to give out a breakfast burrito that's at a price that what people want to still pay at? Now, do we do that? Do we ramp up and to meet demand? Do we do that or not?
And when we saw prices of the burritos go up, way up, because we have to afford to pay these people.
Yes.
Well, and we're seeing it at McDonald's. It's a $15 hamburger.
But at the same time, we're watching restaurants close around us that people are like, that my help is stealing from me. Like if I'm there, it's fine. But if I'm not there, either they're stealing from me or the quality drops off, and they don't care. I'm seeing that from a lot of people. We're seeing, so we're feeling all this out. Like, how do we bring on people, pay them enough, and then that give us a little bit of a breathing room to do the other things that we need to do to build this business, whether it's the sauce bottling and the marketing side of things or whatever we're doing. How do we do that? How do we take that risk and do that? So, and in the meantime, costs are going up, and it's getting tougher. And so we're like, okay, how do we reposition here? So the flip side of that is what we decided was, let's just make the best product that we can make, and we will make it. We'll do more with less. Let's maintain quality we'll just continue to be the ones who make this. And we'll be the ones who give the customer service at the window. It just is what it is. Like, let's do that. But we can't just sit here and be vulnerable to who shows up at this window to get these breakfast burritos on these days. And we're putting in a tremendous amount of hours. Some days it's a great day. Some days it's just not. We take a hit. And so you sit there and you put out a lot of money, and like whatever gains you make, you may lose the next day. So we decided, like, okay, then let's not go in that direction. Let's do more with less. Let's become more efficient. Let's reach more of our customers in these surrounding areas, but let's all do it by just what we can do. So that's where dabbling on the weekends and learning the system of doing pre-orders and people liking that, hey, I can get my order in. I don't have to go stand in line and maybe I get something or maybe I get turned away. We got a lot of good feedback from people in Billings the many times that we did it about doing pre-orders that were like, maybe that's the way to go, because normally we're just trying to judge the reaction on social media before we start to cook. How much food should we send to Billings?
How many likes and comments did we get? Okay, maybe this amount of burritos. And then when you had to turn 60 people away and that were mad because we didn't bring enough, but if we'd have brought too many, then it would have been a wash, or we would have lost money.
Or we would have lost a lot of money.
That's a hard.
It's hard and it's stressful. Hard. It is so stressful, because the worst thing I hate is like turning somebody away or letting somebody down and having somebody get mad at me when I don't know. It's so hard. It's so hard to choose.
Yeah.
It's like a lottery.
And when you have burritos left over, okay, when you have burritos that are left over, the cost of that burrito is very fluid, okay? That burrito never costs the same because it depends on the number of burritos that you made that day. You have operating costs that generally stay the same, okay? We have rent, we have insurance, we have propane costs, we have, all power, we have all of that regular overhead type stuff. But then we have labor. Now, labor for this many of hours, that's pretty stay the same. That we have to pay those people this much money, and it's going to cost us this much every day for those hours. We can figure that out. Then there's the food costs, okay? But a breakfast burrito, and I'm not telling you anything you probably don't know. I just run this out there by you because you're Mr. Business Degree, and so I love throwing this stuff out to you because I'm hoping that you're like, because I have no experience in this. I'm hoping you're like, oh, okay, well, here's the flaw in your thinking. So anytime you want to chime in, you chime in. But the cost of that burrito, okay, let's say we have a $10 breakfast burrito. Okay, well, if we make 100 breakfast burritos that day, that cost of that burrito, if we have 3-4 people in there working, the cost of that burrito is very, very high because it took so many of us and all these other outside operating costs to produce 100 breakfast burritos. Okay, but if the same 4 people can make 400 breakfast burritos that day, the cost of that burrito goes down dramatically because we are able to produce way more food with the same level of cost in all these other areas. The only thing that cost us more, which was a relative factor, was the cost of the food. Okay, more food, more cost, but it's a relative factor, okay, to a certain degree. Now, if we prepare 400 breakfast burritos and we're like, oh, this is going to be a good day, but we only sell, 300 of them, okay, now, how much did those 300 breakfast burritos cost us that day? Now, they cost us this much in labor, this much in food, this much in operating costs, and that's the real value of what those cost. But now we've got this extra 100 that is left over. So we just spent how much on food and labor to produce all of those, okay? So the burrito went from, hey, it's a $10 burrito, and we were going to make, maybe at the end of the day, hopefully, let's say we were going to make $1 per burrito. That burrito is going to cost us $9 between food, labor, operating costs, and everything else. It's going to cost us $9, and under best conditions, if we can make $1 per burrito today by selling all 400, that thing's going to cost us $9, okay? And we made $400 at the end of the day. That's going to be left over. But if we don't sell all of those, that cost of the burrito went up. Now we're at $10 per burrito. Okay? And so we made that because we didn't sell that extra 100, these burritos now cost us $10 to make that day. So we just broke even. But now we have 100 burritos left over. So now we're like, those burritos today cost us $10 to produce. So now for 100 burritos, let's go ahead and let's just multiply that times the real cost of what those burritos cost us to produce today and to operate. And that was, $10 a piece. We just lost $1,000 today.
Yeah.
We didn't make $1,000. We didn't make $400 that got left over in the bank. We just lost money on an epic amount today. So then the next day we may do a ton of burritos.
You can't save those for the next day, right?
No, that's the nature of our business, and this is the flaw in our business model. There's some great things about it, but that's also the flaws. Like that food's all going away. That's all getting thrown or donated to somewhere, but we don't see anything from that, okay? That's just a loss that day. So for every time there's a gain, there could be a big loss. So that's where we figured out pre-orders. We know exactly how much food to cook. There's no loss. There's no, hey, we made too much food today and now we have to toss all of this. That takes out that gamble for us. It takes the gamble out for the customer who's like, I'm going to go stand in line and I may get something or I may get there too late. I just took time out of work or whatever to run over there, or on my way I got to go way over there and take that amount of time to get there. When I got there, they were out of what I wanted. I couldn't get what I wanted, or they were out completely and they were gone. And I didn't have time to see a post on Facebook that they were sold out and they left, or whatever the thing may be. It's been a gamble for the customer. So we started to learn that, okay, pre-orders have some downsides too. Like people have to think ahead. Do I whatever, but it removes that gamble for us. When we started to think about that, we thought, okay, do we ramp up and hire a bunch of people and continue to risk in that area, or do we just do what we can do and become more efficient at what we're doing?
So are you going to do a limit of how many you can sell that day?
We are, because there's only 3 of us. So we can only make realistically whatever we can make, and it's a numbers game. It's between these hours. We start preparing at this hour.
We can roll this many between these hours.
We roll this many at this rate an hour.
Yep.
Is how we figure it out. So that's how we can build in. Okay, well, what if we put in the inventory on the website, and we can control that now? So we started to realize that. We're like, okay, in Columbus, we're always going to operate kind of in this range. Sometimes it's a good high range, and sometimes it's the low, but we're never going to do outside of that range, really. When it comes to Laurel and Billings, just because there's a higher population base, it's
harder.
It's much better. We're at a better range. Okay, we have a more opportunity, more customers, and I don't know. Over time, we're starting to realize now that a lot of our customers, almost a majority of our customers, what supports our business is Laurel and Billings.
Yeah, they come all the time from Laurel and Billings,
and they're not buying one burrito.
Yeah,
they're not buying one burrito. They're buying 10. They're buying 20. They're buying 30.
Well, I can tell you that I hear positive things. I mean, people all the time will be like, "Hey, you've got to try this burrito." I mean, I hear it. It's amazing, especially people that are, I hear most of the time from somebody who's talking to maybe their families in town, or somebody's coming through and they're like, "Hey, what do the locals do?" And your place always comes up to eat.
Well, that's awesome.
Oh,
so it's
interesting.
That is yeah, that is awesome. We do also understand though that we're in a small community, and like, hey, you can only go eat at the same place so many times. We offer one thing. Our demographic is people in a hurry on their way to work in the morning, and that is limiting. We don't expect we don't expect everybody in town here to like come have our breakfast burrito every day to support us. Like, we have to provide something that people want. We have to provide that value. That's our responsibility. It's not their responsibility to come and keep buying the same thing from us.
So you're changing your business model.
Yes, dramatically.
And where does that include?
So what that includes is okay. We've been looking at this and we're like, okay, we cannot be vulnerable just to who comes and puts in an order at the window or who does pre-orders. Okay, we can make that as efficient as possible. We've got a real good member on our team, Trish. She's very, very dependable. She has an amazing work ethic. I'm constantly asking her to stop and eat something or take a break. I mean, she's just like a wind-up thing that just goes and hits this and hits this and hits this and everything else, okay? So we don't want to, there's limitations there. We don't want to burn out what we have, okay? And we're very sensitive to that. So we're like, how do we produce as much food as we can without burnout, without injury and all these other things, but, whatever. So that we took that all into consideration. So we're like, okay, we're doing this many hours, this many days per week here in the kitchen to do these burritos. And like everything is riding right now on those burritos because we don't have time to develop anything else because we're tired. And we're trying to keep up on family, all the other stuff we talked about. Okay, so we're like, what if we were to shorten up? So we decided, let's shorten up the number of days that we do this. It will be more intense on those shorter days. Okay, we're going to go for a higher number of burritos than what we're just going to sit here and do in 4 days in Columbus. We're going to go for a much higher number. Okay, so our business model on this, how it's changing, is like we will control the quality of the food and the customer service. Hey, that's the one good thing about our product is who's cooking it, who's rolling it, and who's handing it to you at the window. You know the whole process. Nobody cares more about that product than the person who has everything invested and is all in on that product from start to finish. And that's what we've decided to gamble on, is like, that's what's missing in a lot of places we go right now. The food quality is worse. It's becoming more expensive. Customer service is getting worse because the employees, most of them are like, I'm out of here next week because this place isn't meeting all of my, needs and dreams. Okay, so we feel it. We see that when we go places. We're like, oh, this is lacking everywhere, and we see it. People talking about that. They're like, oh yeah, it seems like when you go out to eat, the food isn't as good. It's just like everybody's experiencing that to a degree, I feel. So we're like, let's offer the alternative. We're going to continue to be the ones who do it all. But that's limiting. We can't feed everybody. We can't make everybody happy. So we're going to just do what we can do. and do that to the best of our ability. But
and reach more of our customer base again, like reach.
Instead of carpools having to come out here and buy a bunch of burritos, like what if we were to be like, okay, we're here, and we recognize our product is a splurge. You know what I mean? It's a 1 pound breakfast burrito. That's probably not most of our customers don't eat that every day. It is a once a week splurge for them. And, those people from Billings or Laurel, they're typically once a week people that drive out, and all their coworkers, they get together or whatever, and they're like, hey, who's running to Columbus for breakfast burritos? It's their once a week splurge. Okay. And honestly, for most of our customers here in Columbus, it's a once a week splurge. We have a few customers that come every single day, and we love those guys and we appreciate those people. But they are obviously that is the minority of our customer base.
So it sounds like you're taking advantage of your opportunity cost, because the opportunity is we need to go where there's a larger base of our customers that are coming anyway.
That meet our demographic for our product,
yep.
Which is people who are in a hurry on their way to work. They want something that's maybe going to tide them through lunch. That's our people. And we're not...
create our efficiency of the product waste, all that, to be more efficient because of
to where we don't have those big hits of, wow, we just took a massive loss today because we just overestimated on how much food we prepared.
So where are you going to stay? It sounds like you're going to go to Billings and Laurel. Mm-hmm. Where are you at in those places, and what days are you?
So actually the change we're making is this. We're going down to 1 day in Columbus. That's going to be Wednesdays, okay? And I know that doesn't work for everybody. But what we had figured out is this. Look, if we're here on Wednesdays, then that's the day to come. That's your day. That's your splurge day in this area. Because that's what we can do, okay? So that's where we're going to be. Boom. Thursdays, we're going to be in Laurel. Like right now, we're at Laurel Chevrolet. Okay, great people at Laurel Chevrolet. We got a little bit of history with them over the years, and we've parked there at different times. Super great people. I love the ownership that is over there right now. There's been other ownership in there in years past that we didn't want to partner with. We want to partner with these people right now. But that's this can change. But this is where we're parking like right now. We're going to go to Laurel Chevrolet on Thursdays for the time being until that changes. The other thing is on Fridays, we're going to be at Mattress King on King Avenue. Why? Because we have a lot of places we can go to in Billings. A lot of great places. Okay, we like the location. We like the people there. They came to us very, very enthusiastically about us coming there and parking at their place. So we were like, okay, let's look at this location. How does this work for our customers in Billings? And for right now, that's where we're going to be. Now, that can change. We're going to be open to that. And that's going to be explained on the website, because what we've decided is we have got to, for lack of a better term here, but we've got to diversify our business. We cannot sit here and rely on just window traffic. We're in a town of 1,800 people doing a one product for a very specific demographic. That really is very limiting, and it leaves you very vulnerable. So people could either come that morning or not come that morning. So we have to diversify and not just be just about that. So we are also investing in a co-packer, which is a company that will produce our product for us. And we're doing that as locally as we possibly can, our sauce. To not only for our customers around here.
What's going to happen with the sauce? But so it sounds like that's still working.
That is working. We're working on that. Now that goes slower than we want to because of how much time and energy we put into.
Well, and it's not just us too. It's other people, businesses and stuff.
Of what they can do on their timeline.
What they can do on their timeline. So as you know, in business,
absolutely,
nothing happens fast.
Right. But that is like a second leg of our business is the bottling and the shipping. Okay, so we're starting now to send our product all over the country. We get orders. We have not had the time, though, to put into the marketing like we could or should that would generate a lot of sales all over the country. Okay, and we need to focus on that. One thing that we have been able to learn over several years of doing this business is we've learned how to do marketing. We've learned how to do, we're not saying we know everything, but we've learned a lot. And we know how to produce content, and we know how to distribute that content pretty well. And that has been a real strength for us. So we're like, let's rely on that strength. We've got to put out more content that shows this product is available and how you can use this product and how it can, be good on all kinds of foods and all kinds of situations. And we just need to take the time to make that content that teaches people how this product can be used and how you can be a rock star at your next backyard barbecue, or you can be a rock star the next time you do a stir fry, or this or that. Okay. We need to put that content out. So it's the bottling of the sauce is the second leg. So there's the burritos, there's the sauce, because if burrito sales are down, then hey, online sales, people, that right there is another side of our business. The other side of our business is the marketing side of our business. So a lot of that is for ourselves, but a lot of that is also, we get asked all the time to produce content for other businesses. A lot of it I turn down because I don't have the time. But so we're like, if we were to get more efficient about our customers, when we realize our product is mainly a once a week splurge. It's a cheat day product. It's like, I'm going to eat good all week long, but I really like this big breakfast burrito that I get when this truck comes to town on this day. We know that that's what our product is, and we know that that's who our customer is. Okay, so we've decided let's get out there to that customer on those days. It's Wednesdays in Columbus, it's Laurel, it's Billings. We'll get out there and get to our customers. It's going to be pre-orders. Here in Columbus, people can still come to the window. They can come still order burritos. But even this is changing. Since the floods all happened and the mine has been closed, honestly, our 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock hour has died. It's not just the miners, okay? That's been dwindling for a while since the mine has been pressuring the people to ride the bus, okay? They're doing that on purpose up there. They're trying to possibly just get rid of that parking lot up there so they can expand into it, and they want to make it more efficient. We have only this much property. Let's expand into that parking lot, because for us to go get more land and go through the environmental process and the whole 9 yards is very difficult. But we could cut into this big parking lot if we could get everybody on the bus. Guys don't want a bus. When I worked up there, I didn't want a bus. I did the carpool thing. I hated the buses, but some people love those buses. But that's the fact of it. They're putting those guys on buses more. It's affecting us. So we've had less and less minor traffic. But what we've also had less of in the last few weeks is just all the other businesses that support that mine, all of the contractors. We get a lot of contractors that come stop at our place in those early hours. So that has shortened up dramatically since those floods. Our 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock hour now is dead, where normally 5 o'clock hour could be massive.
Well, they don't know when that's going to open back up, right? I mean, they're working on it.
I think they're trying to make that happen sooner than later.
I seen a bunch of buses running. So I think that they had D crew go back up. But
I don't think the contractor side of it is not picked up. And that's why I say the busing doesn't help us.
No.
And so if contractors aren't roaming around the community in that hour, that still affects us. So for right now, Wednesdays in Columbus, we're going to be open at 5, but that could shorten up. We're watching it. We're like, hey, we got to do what's best for us and our business, and we can't make everybody happy. We realize that, and we're just got to do what we can do. What makes sense.
We want to make everybody happy, and we want to, and we're trying to do that. So in this way, like Columbus, we love our Columbus, but also our Laurel and Billings people, like they're our great customers too, And so I feel like,
but the more efficient we can run this in the less wasted hours, the better we can offer a affordable product in these difficult times.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be as efficient as possible so we don't have to keep on raising prices so that the windfalls outdo the hits we take. Okay, so that's going to even that out. So Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, it becomes more efficient, more concentrated. We have more time now to focus on with the other companies that are helping us produce our sauce, and for us to be shipping it out to not only shipping, but we have a lot of stores that are coming to us saying, we want to carry your sauce. We want, and they're good, big name stores, but we can't do it if right now we can produce it and sell it, and that's good. We're good to go there. But for us to wholesale it, we have to meet all kinds of other standards as a facility, a production facility, or we have to have an actual production facility that meets all those standards, produce it for us so that we can legally wholesale it to these big name places. Now, if we can do that and we can get proven good sales in these larger chains, then that's what they are. They're chains. We have an opportunity now to get into all of their locations. Okay, so if that were to happen, who knows then what we could afford to do then? Okay, now we maybe can afford to open up and pay people enough money because the sauce side of things subsidizes this enough to where we don't really have to make money off of this. We can just exist right here. We can employ people, pay people well, still be good members of the community, providing a good product and whatever. But we can't do that doing things the way we're doing it right now. We're just not going to be able to do it. So we have to go explore these other options to see how we can build the business to meet our goals and to not just meet goals, but to survive at times. So there's that. So those are the two legs there, but the other third leg is the marketing side of things. Part of the marketing side of things, I'll be honest with you, and I guess I can be honest with you because 12 people are going to listen to this? Half of those are my family. But the other marketing side of that is that businesses are now recognizing that when we come to their location, there's a tremendous amount of attention that comes with that. Okay? It used to be, we get a lot of free offers to go and park at places. People are very excited to have us come park at their place. Number one, they're like, we want to be able to get a burrito because we don't have to come stand in line. Right, we hear that a lot. We want to make sure we just get food, number one. Number two is they see the attention online and they see the car count of how many cars, how many people physically come to that location specifically because we're there that morning. There's a tremendous amount of tension that we've kind of been able to start generating over an amount of time. And so now we have companies that are coming to us and saying, hey, what would it cost me to have you come park at our place? So that's a factor now. Now, if we can develop that more, okay, that also helps us keep the price down on the burritos. So now we can still continue to order, or produce a good product, maybe find the right people that help us to expand that, because now there's another thing that we're not just vulnerable to who shows up at the window for a breakfast burrito or who does a pre-order, because there's sauce sales going on, but there's also the attention side of things, because companies are starting to realize that nobody's watching regular TV. They're on their phones, they're on TikTok, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. If they're not streaming something on one of those other things, they're on social media. We're on social media. Sometimes we do good at it, sometimes we're not because we're bogged down. We can be really good at it. If I had more time to put out more content, we can provide not only more value for ourselves there, we can provide more value for the places that we park at. Because now we can really put out the content there, and that's where people are. And these businesses are starting to see, like, how expensive is it to get onto a commercial? Well, I know how expensive it is. I've been doing a lot of research because I want to know.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
No.
It's not cheap. Just to have a camera crew, to come and make a video for you or a 1-minute commercial. I mean, you're going to be in several $1,000s for a 1-minute commercial. Well, there's really no difference than if you were to have somebody produce a YouTube video for you. You're still going to pay thousands of dollars. If you don't know how to video and edit and do all of that yourself, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars, per minute.
The cheapest one that I've seen is 6,000.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's gone up.
Yes. Now it is very expensive to produce content. We can produce our own content though. When we go produce a content involving either us being partners with a business or producing content for them specifically where we're not involved, we can produce that much less, expensively, because we're just in-house. We can do all of that. All it takes is time, which we've been short on time. But this is why we're like, okay, if we shorten up how much time, how many days we're standing at that window wondering if somebody's going to come to the window or not, and make it like, oh, we know how many burritos we're doing today. We're more efficient with this. I don't have to worry about all that. Now we can produce content for ourselves and for other businesses. So that's the 3 legs that we're trying to develop here to where, okay, there's tough times coming ahead. And we can now afford to stock up on food and put in a big, huge walk-in freezer that allows us to be like, okay, hey, that sausage that comes in, comes in frozen. So why can't we just keep that frozen and we'll keep rotating it, but let's buy 3 months of sausage. And then as sausage is coming in, we'll just rotate it through there. Now, when you can't order sausage for 2 weeks, that don't matter. because we can float for 3 months, you know, or whatever other products that we can figure out how to stockpile, we can float that. But we can't do that, though, unless we can afford that. And a lot of times now, like with the way the business is going and everything else, like lending is going to tighten up. So you got to do this with your own investment. You know, you're going to have to figure out how to do that. So this is how we've decided, okay.
Well, and it's interesting that you're seeing what's coming and you're pivoting to adjust for what we believe is coming, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to a tire guy the other day, and he was talking to him, and he's like trying to order some tires for me. And he's like, hey, gosh, this honestly would be the best tire for you. Okay, I can't order it through this place. Let me go check this other place. He goes, gets on there, and he's like, gosh, I can't even get that tire. But you know what? Our home office, I'm going to call. They've been telling us lately, if you can't find tires to order out there, because they're in short supply too. So he's like, they've told him, if you can't find tires, call the home office, see if we have them. And he's telling me, he's like, the home office, they have a regular little tire shop there. They own several locations now. They have a little tire shop there. He says, but they have about 7 big, huge buildings, big warehouses full of tires. And he goes, they built these buildings and they stocked these things over years with tires in anticipation of these things. This is not their first rodeo. They have been stockpiling tires because they know that there's going to be a time where there's shortages and there's high prices, or if they got to ride that out. And I'm like, yeah, wow. That's how we got to think. Yeah. Like, you know, I know we're just a little food trailer. I know that's how these other big places think. They're in the commodities market. You know, they're buying futures. When they're buying pork or they're buying whatever those commodities may be, you know, beef, you know, that's how the other big, huge chains are doing it. They're not paying today's prices. You know, they're paying prices based on what they think the market's going to do next year. You know, like, so they're buying things and locking in prices a year ahead, 2 years ahead, and that's what they're operating off of.
It's interesting you bring that up, because propane, that's how they do it. And you can buy up to a year, but you can do it in quarters. And usually in the years past, we would buy the summer quarter in the futures of what, and you can daily it changes. It's actually more than daily, but you kind of watch it daily. Well, this year it's, you know, you watch the futures going into this summer, and we're like, we'll just watch the market, because what they're asking for is it's outside the range of where anybody's comfortable spending.
Yeah.
And if the market drops,
you're locked in at
a price that's way above what you're used to paying.
Right.
And so, you know, we had a huge meeting about 6 weeks ago in regards to, you know, the summer fill price of the commodity of propane, and it's gone straight up. And the crazy part is we're shorted. The U.S. is short on the storage, you know, 10 million gallons compared to what it was a year ago, meaning that they're sending it overseas, and they're not producing enough. So the scary part of that is what happens this winter, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody's blaming the war in Russia, but I mean,
that's only part of the problem.
Yeah,
right.
That's part of the bigger picture. It's a little small part of the bigger.
Well, and it's 10%. We get 10% of our oil, so it's really not huge in regards to it for us.
It has to do with a lot of the leases that are being canceled. It's literally forcing the shortage, forcing a shortage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like there's maybe even a little bit of that. I mean, this is where the tinfoil hat stuff comes into play, but I've gotten text messages with multi-screen long lists of food processing facilities that have burned down in the last year.
Yeah, well, and this is where I was trying not to bring that up, but it's amazing, you know, it's hard not to think that there's a conspiracy theory of how many of them are shut down.
Not just burning down, but being just shut down. Just shut down. They're like all of a sudden just laying off everybody and closing doors and being like, we're just closing doors. No explanation. You know, like I have another list of those where food processing places that are big name players in the country and the world are just closing down processing facilities. Like this is why we're like, oh, like we better get this stuff while we can at a price we can.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to take a long time before somebody else comes in with enough money to reopen these places and get these things back up and meet demand and whatever the shenanigans are that are going on, if there is shenanigans. So, potatoes, like, they're only grown one time a year. They're harvested one time a year. Yep. When we're taking delivery of potatoes every week, those things were harvested at this time. They've been in a storage place, by our food provider, okay? And they come to us all year long. The price fluctuates, though, on us all year long. So when they first come in and they're the freshest and they're the best, they're the cheapest. And then as the product gets worse and I got to throw potatoes away or cut things out or whatever, all through the years, as they're getting older and older, the price is going up. Okay? So I'm like,
crazy.
It's crazy.
They're getting less and less potatoes.
You're getting less for your money.
Well,
but it's
that and more is going out. So their stockpile and demand, you know what I'm saying, just drives the price up throughout the year.
Yeah. And they're looking at the next harvest coming up. How's the next harvest coming up? So that they're judging the price on what is that harvest going to look like. So they're basing today's price of potatoes on what's that future harvest is how's that gonna look? Because these potatoes that we are holding on to right now might become very expensive. So especially when there's places that are gonna buy those potatoes and just cut them up and freeze them anyway, so they're gonna ride out that bad harvest. We're dealing in fresh potatoes every single day. So we're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we buy a year's worth of potatoes? If everybody else is buying a year's worth of potatoes when they're harvested, how do we buy a year's worth of potatoes at half the price of what we're paying right now? Why don't we get a year's worth of potatoes? And if we can buy a year's worth of potatoes, let's have them slap our label on it. Those are our brand of potatoes. This is why aren't we out shopping, for our potatoes and making partnerships with those people and being like, here, I need this many cases of potatoes and I need my because I'm going to buy a year of them from you. I need you to put them in my box. They'll do that. So why aren't we doing that?
Absolutely.
To ride out and just have a one time a year cost on those potatoes. And now we know what the cost of those potatoes are. I don't know what the cost of potatoes are next week. They keep going up on me. I bought potatoes a few weeks ago and I was like, we switched to a different potato. And that price jumped $3 in 2-3 weeks per case.
Oh man.
And I'm like, what? I know prices are going all over the place, but is this some bait and switch on,
once you order a new product, next time,
well, and that makes it hard with your own prices, because you can't constantly.
Yeah, we're not constantly adjusting our burrito prices every week to our food prices.
So in the food industry, food prices used to only go up once a year in January. Food service production facilities would price out their food for the year. And that's what the price was for a year. So you as a restaurant, you knew what your pricing would be. In January, you had maybe some price hikes coming. Maybe the prices went down. But it was in January, typically, that they set the prices, and this is what the food is. So you knew you could count on that, and you could count on your menu, okay? So you print your menus, and you're like, what is this food going to cost me?
You
just do that, right? But now it's weekly. It's weekly. I tell people this all the time. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. Like, I'm ready to put a digital sign outside that says, what is the market price of a burrito today?
Because it's changing every week.
Yeah, I could see
because
that.
It's changing on us every single week. And we have spreadsheets where we can go down and say, a bacon burrito has these ingredients in it and has this much of these ingredients in it, and this is the cost of it right now.
Down to the penny.
Down to the penny, okay? So every week when the prices get inputted into that, that burrito's going up and down all the time. So I'm like, why aren't we charging market price?
It's not really gone down. It's just been I
was going to say, it's probably just been going up.
Not really going down much.
There's little fluctuations of down. I'm also seeing every now and then, I'll be like, that came down 60 cents. But then like 3 weeks later, it's up $1, per case, or something on something. Sometimes it's not too drastic, but it's constantly changing now. So anyway, all of those types of things is like, how do we remove these variables?
Well, it sounds like in the next 9 months, so for the near future, right, that's not going away.
It's not going away at all. So that's why we're like, if we can't remove these variables, and if we can't afford to buy a year's worth of bacon at one time, or if we can't afford to buy this or this or this 1 year at a time, what we can afford to do is just get more efficient. Let's produce more food in a smaller amount of time, which allows us to have the time and energy to develop these other legs that will help remove vulnerabilities for us. Through sauce production and wholesaling, through the content that now we are basically running our own production company and our own marketing company to market our products. Okay, that's another separate. Right now, it's just a cost center, but I want the marketing and the media side of it. It's kind of becoming not just a cost center. I would like it to be a profit center, because if we can produce content efficiently, good enough content efficiently for ourselves, why can't we also do that helps aid other companies, or at least the companies that we're partnering with and parking at? Because as we are elevating our brand, through our content and our products and everything else, then we should be able to partner and help elevate other brands that we partner with.
Oh, absolutely.
So
it makes sense. I mean, I can see why you have to pivot. I mean, it's
either we pivot and grow with the times,
or close our doors,
or we go out of business. And
absolutely,
it's either that or that. But if we just keep doing what we're doing,
we're not saving for retirement, so we're going to be working until we die.
Yeah, I tell the kids all the time, like, hey, if we aren't hanging out with you, it's not because we don't want to. We're trying to make it so that you don't have to take care of us when we're old. Like, that's what we did this last Saturday. I'm sorry, I didn't call my kids, or I this or that. Like, hey, I'm trying to build something that keeps you from having to change my diapers someday. Like, is that worth it to you?
And like everybody, and I think that's, where that line is, and with customers, and they're, upset we're not here, we're not there, that they just see the small little bit of it, But behind all that is, we have families, we have goals, we have retirement, we have health and medical and all the things other people have, but we have that too. So we're just trying to.
You know what? When I was working for different companies and whatever else, I didn't understand all these things. I didn't understand what these little companies were up against. So I get it. We have customers. Some of them are upset with us. I mean, visibly upset with us.
Yeah.
And that's never fun, but we also understand, like, okay, they don't
understand the logistics behind it all.
Yes. And so, and how do you explain that in 30 seconds at the window to somebody that makes them feel better? You can't.
It's not a 30-second conversation.
It's not. There's so many factors.
And the problem is not everybody understands it.
And nobody, they're not willing to.
They're not willing to have the entrepreneur mindset of understanding what it takes.
No, a lot of them are like, I just want you here when I'm hungry, and I come here. Like, it's an emotional reaction, and they don't understand. Like, oh, okay, well, I have to get up at midnight to do this, and sometimes that doesn't kill me, and sometimes it's super discouraging, and I don't want to come to work, but if I don't come to work, there's nobody that's going to cover for me.
We don't
have that luxury.
A company that, oh, okay, I'm out sick, so somebody else can come in and cover. They don't have, they have other people that they work for that company that worry about all that. They don't worry about all that stuff.
Well, and a lot of employee mindset. They don't care.
And they don't. They get off on their weekends. They have their days off. They have their paid vacation. They have all this, their, insurance and their 401k that, so there's pros and cons to both things. And we are just, we just want to stay in business and continue this business and company. And so we have to change with the world, and the world is changing.
Almost to a fault, though. We want to put out the best product that we can put out. And like you're not going to grow if you're the CEO and you got to build that iPhone, and you got to be the marketing, and you got to be the guy who sweeps up afterwards. You're not going to get a lot of iPhones out in the world.
No, because you're too busy doing all the other little jobs.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because you're doing it all. You can't do it all and continue to.
Well,
that guy's going to get burned out.
Absolutely. You can't maintain that level.
Yeah. So we have some people who are like, oh, this is really going to mess up my thing. I come here once a week or once every 2 weeks on this day, and you're not going to be open anymore. And I'm like, it's either this.
Or we don't.
Or we cater to you once every 2 weeks,
or I sell
and
my
depend
house and go get a job, you know, and do something else, like, because we can't maintain this. It's stressful. It's hard on us. It's all that other stuff. Just like any business is for, you know, anybody who's owns their own business. Most small businesses don't make it. I mean, we beat the odds in a very small town in a very tacky, dumpy looking little cow print food trailer. We've beat a lot of odds, but there's days where we have to tell ourselves, just keep showing up. Just keep showing up.
Like, we just need sleep. It's not that big of a deal. We just need to get some rest.
And
we tell ourselves that a lot.
Yeah, and lately there's been more days of just keep showing up than days of, oh, hey, isn't this awesome, and we're killing it, and we're living our dream. Yeah. And there are those days.
There are,
It's unbelievable the amount of good feedback and positive feedback we get from people so early in the morning.
And that's really the only reason that we are sitting here right now. Because if it wasn't for that,
there would be no reason to get up that early and to go do what we do.
We would not be doing
if there wasn't that positive feedback, the kind words that get said to us every morning at the window.
Yeah.
And so
some days that just changes my day around.
There's not a lot of places open until 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. Those comments on certain days will change my whole day. I would be discouraged but a comment from somebody like, okay, you know, like it just makes it worth it.
It does go a long ways.
It does.
I think I'm excited for you guys. I think it's a good opportunity that you're taking advantage of in order to, you know, change with the times it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying not to be doomsdayers about it. Like, oh, everything's going to go to,
no,
you know.
But we're trying to be realistic.
We're trying to be prepared. We're trying to look at the realities of it.
And we're not like trying to be so bogged down in like news and getting all this stuff where we're doing that. We're not doing that either. So we're trying to just be realistic.
I do try to avoid most of that, but I do dip into that little world to kind of see what's going on.
What's relevant.
Coming. Yeah.
Well, and you have to. I mean, you have to kind of have an idea of what could come
be
up.
In the clouds and just be like, oh, whatever. And then when something hits, you're not prepared. And then there it is. You know.
We took too long to make a shift to go over to TikTok. We were so tired and bogged down. I mean, it got easy to do what we did on Facebook. You know, we built a following on Facebook, and then Facebook changed. Facebook has changed dramatically. Like, it has not been positive changes for us as the consumers and producers who put out content on Facebook. It has not been a positive thing. We took way too long to make the move over to TikTok. Why? Because we were tired. And it's like, oh, now I got to spend the time to go learn this. Like, I had an account with Musical.ly back in 2016, 2017. I had an account. Musical.ly was the forerunner of TikTok. That was TikTok. That got purchased and renamed TikTok. Okay.
Okay.
So, but even back then, I was following people that are like, hey, I know there's just a bunch of little kids on here dancing and doing whatever, dumb little videos, but you need to get on here, because everybody's going to come here and they're going to get older and older and older. And if you think that your business isn't going to be relevant on here, then you are sadly mistaken. So I knew that years ago. I didn't have the time or the energy. We were producing other content. We were trying to meet the needs of what Facebook wants you to produce, because you work for Facebook. So, and that's what everybody's on around here.
That's our demographic.
That's our demographic is on Facebook.
Yep.
But that demographic is also leaving Facebook.
Yep.
So if you're not already established, once they leave and go to another platform, if you're not already established on that platform, they're getting hooked into, they're getting their regulars that they follow, they're getting established patterns. So if you're not already there, ready to
make the transition,
to welcome them, so you become a part of their established pattern, one of the, so that they can follow you. You're already there. You already know how it works. You're already putting the content out that platform would like to have. And you're way behind. We were behind. So we finally did just say, hey, we've been spending a lot less time on Facebook, which that kind of feels bad. We feel bad about, because we have a lot of people that follow us on there, that we have a lot of regulars on our live streams, that every morning it's so fun to see their names pop in there and we communicate with them. We haven't really had the time to do all of that too while we're running our business. We're making all the burritos and running the window and everything else that we're doing. We try to do those Facebook live streams. Well, lately we've been doing TikTok live streams from about 4:30 in the morning until about 6:30 to 7, even 7:30. I actually have these adapters that are on their way so that we can run a live stream through our entire service. So, which is generating sales for us. It's generating. We're sending hoodies and bottles of sauce. We get done here right now. I got to go box up some sauce. I don't even know where we're sending it out in the country. But people on TikTok, our reach is not just this little area right here. It's very few people in this area. It's people all over the country.
All over the world.
All over the world are tuning in and watching. And I mean, we get on a Facebook Live and we've got 6 to 10 people. We have over 9,000 followers on Facebook. Okay, we'll have 9, 10 people watching our Facebook. And people are coming and going, but we'll have 9, 10 people on our Facebook live stream. Okay, they have cut it back so much on how you get out to people. You know, we just got started on TikTok Live, and we'll be maintaining 200 to 600 viewers at any given moment.
That's crazy.
We'll have 15,000 unique viewers each morning.
Wow.
And so after that's just growing. So when we go live on TikTok, it's like, and those people are like, hey, I can't buy that burrito. But I'm watched you guys roll enough burritos. Our caption stays the same every morning. It says meditative burrito rolling. It's not very meditative, but I'm like, hey, you can zone out and watch us. And the camera goes right down the line. Okay.
So they say, I've watched you roll enough burritos. I know how to do my own.
Well, eventually I just feel like, hey, they can watch us roll burritos. Eventually, there's going to be people that are like, I'm out of here. But if you get a big enough percentage or a big enough amount of people watching you, there's going to be a percentage of those people who are like, I got to try that sauce. And they go online and they order it.
Absolutely. 100%.
And that's happening.
That's the first thing that happens.
Yeah.
That is happening. So we took too long because we got bogged down and that's why if you get afraid to change with what's happening, you're going to go out of business.
Well, and you guys are making, I think it's a perfect time to make the change and to start building those legs that you're supposed to be doing.
Well, that means actually a lot to me because I have you like way up here on this pedestal when it comes to business knowledge and everything else, and you're educated.
Well, and I am convinced and have been for a couple years that social media is where you need to go. And we've had this conversation before that the sauce is really the I don't want to call it the golden nugget, but there's a huge opportunity that you can send that sauce anywhere that you cannot do with the burrito.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, there's a huge, we know that it's a percentage of any market that's going to buy, whether it's a burrito or any product. And so if you have a larger audience, you're going to have a larger consumer base.
Yep.
Yeah. And we also know it's not just our regular sauces that we're limited to, if we can get into that. If we can get that,
other products.
we can develop other products. We can develop other sauce. We're sauce people, and we find there's sauce people out there like us. You go into our fridge, we got 2 doors of our fridge that open up. That every shelf is packed with little bottles of sauce. We have sauce.
I need my own refrigerator for condiments and cheese.
And
Those are my things.
Well, and we have ours. Ours probably isn't anywhere close to yours, but both are. You open both the fridge doors, and that's what you have is all kinds of little sauces
yes,
and cheese.
I am huge.
Yeah, it just complements and makes everything better. Food is just better when you bring different flavors together.
I love it. Well, and anytime you're eating, that's what you want is something that tastes good, flavorful.
Well, back in the day, spice, that was gold. Spice was worth gold. So I said, well, if the world goes, I am loaded. I have gold.
I should show you a photo I took on my phone the other day of our spice cabinet.
Oh, dear.
I go to open it up.
That isn't even, we have a pantry
It's
full
so
too.
packed. I'm like, and she caught me. She comes in the other room. I'm in there like taking a picture of the spice cabinet. I'm like, I have to document this thing. But my point on that is like, okay, yeah, we hope if we can produce this sauce and get it into stores and we can produce the content out there and be the marketing force behind it all, that other stores are like, we want to carry that because not only is it a good product, but they have a following and they know how this all works when it comes to attention out there.
It's coming. I mean, we know that it's coming.
Yeah.
And we've seen it happen more than once.
Right. Right.
And so it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, then we can produce other sauces. We can produce BFL Dijon mustard. I mean, so anyway, it just opens all that up. So we're trying to figure out what is that system or how does that all work? How do you get products to the market like that? And we're just taking us some time because we've been bogged down in so many other areas.
And you're doing that this week, right? This is the week for the change.
This is the week for the change. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little scary. In our minds, it plays out, and we're like, okay, yeah, this should work, you know? And then you're like,
you never know.
oh, and then that feeling passes, and you're like, or this could be the end.
Well, I think it's going to be a positive change. I really do.
Oh, you know what? I do too. It was scary too when we went from lunch and just went to breakfast burritos. People were like, wait, you're just doing a breakfast burrito? That was a little scary. We had a moment where we're like, what are we doing?
Well, and what is it? 20% of people eat breakfast. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's not a lot in comparison to who eats lunch.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, very much true.
And so, you'll do just fine.
All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to that. So, anyway, man, it has been super fun catching up with you, and I feel like all we did was talk about us. So next time we'll
that's good.
We'll find out what have you been up
Delve
to. Where
into
have you
Cody
been hiding?
world and what's been going on with you.
Yeah.
We can do that next time.
Yeah, we need a little camera crew that just follows him around Cody's world.
I don't think I'm that interesting. I think most of the time I'm probably boring.
No, I doubt that. I doubt that for sure. Dude, good to see you again.
Yes, it's been great. I'm glad we're back.
It was fun to get a phone call from you the other day when I don't know, you got on the phone and you were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" So
I always feel bad because I want to call at 5 when I'm on my way home. Yeah, and I know that's right in the middle of your sleeping periods. It's like the middle of the night for you, so it's always hard because the ideal window is like noon to 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always think that's a great time until I'm like, oh my goodness, it's 4 o'clock. I never called Milo.
Right. And then when I get up at midnight, I will see your missed call or I'll see a text message from you. I want to respond. My phone is on silent, so it doesn't wake me up. But I know if I text you, it's probably going to wake you up. Like you operate a company around here that has driving bombs out there and
absolutely
and filling up bombs right next to people's houses. So I know you keep your phone to where it can ring and you can hear text messages. So
and if it goes off, I usually will check it.
Yeah. So then I've learned not to text you in the middle of the night because normally I'll be like, I know people, their phone is on silent. I can text them. So with you, I'm like, I need to get back to him. I'll wait until a better hour, but then I get caught up in everything else in the day. And
our CEO used to text at like 2 a.m. And there's a couple of us who are like, you realize that we check those, like, unless we're zonked out, we have to check them. And he started trying to be better about, trying to not send them in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Or 4 a.m. or whatever.
All right, man, let's get out of here. We'll wrap this up. Good seeing you, my man.
Good seeing you guys. Thanks.
All right.
Yes.
Yep.
See ya.